And there's back traffic coming back. It's really not good to see you all again.
All right, we'll go ahead with questions. All right, good.
Coach, do you know this? Do you have a sense of this team any more than anyone started out with?
It's another new team. I'm still trying to figure out, trying not to get too much anxiety about how we're going to have to play, because until I get on the court, I'm not, we'll do some things and whatever works, we run with.
Yeah, how much have you learned from the past 3 years about how to mesh a star freshman into an effective unit?
Well, what I've said to you guys before, if I had my choice between experience and talent, I'm going to take talent. And this is a talented group. I don't know how talented until we start playing, but we've got good size, we've got length, we've got some slashers, we've got a couple shooters. We were worried about our toughness a year ago, and I would tell you I'm a little worried about the toughness of this team, based on the fact that, you have a couple guys, but you just don't have a, we were worried about it last year. I'm probably more worried this year.
Which I think you've addressed this in the last day or two, but Mr. Wilker's one of the experienced person with that.
Yeah, I sat down with he and Ryan Harrow, and I told them they need to start working out together. They need to be in practice early together. They need to be in after practice together, kind of doing what Nowitzki and Steve Nash did, where they did their workouts together and they got real comfortable with each other on the court, especially late game. We're talking two guys that are going to have their hands on the ball a lot. And so we just had that talk about 5 days ago.
Yeah, you talked a lot in the offseason about, talking to Joe B about using two big guys, trying to get some information about how you might go about doing
I sat out by his statue and he and I talked a little bit. He wasn't real talkative, I didn't know. Usually he is. I'm sorry.
What kinds of things have you picked up? What kinds of things might you experiment with those two guys?
I may stack them together, put them both on the same side of the court. May put them on the elbow. I'm gonna mess around. I don't know how much per game we'll play those two. I really have no idea. It may be 5 minutes, 15 minutes. What if they're both really good together? And then maybe 25 minutes. So I don't know yet, but we have some ideas, random pick and rolls and some different things we may try. But right now, the basics of the first week of practice will be what we're going to be a great defensive team. We're going to fly up and down the court. We're going to teach the dribble drive, attacking the basket. We're going to really zero in on rebounding, because I think that's one of the things this team should be good at and needs to be good at. Those kind of things.
Just take a little bit more out of you, having 6, 7 new guys that you got to deal with every year instead of at least a couple guys coming back.
I wish I had the whole team come back every year. I wish I had teams for 3 and 4 years, but that's not the way it is. And I've talked enough about how I can't stand this one and done stuff, but it is what it is, and I'm not going to cheat the kids. I'm not going to have kids stay that need to leave. And if kids should stay and they choose to leave, that's their family's decision. I'm not going to argue that. And we just deal with what's left. It's funny, we've had kids leave every year, and our teams have been good, if not better. So they're chasing their dream, and it's not hurting us. We had a 3.2 base point average. We had 9 players over a B average last year. 9. Anthony Davis left with, what was his last term? 3.75.
375.
His last term. I mean, guys finished all their courses. One in and out of correspondence, they finished their courses. So it's not at the expense of academics. They're taking care of business. And
Coach, talk about your early schedule of Maryland and Duke on the road, or neutral sites.
Yeah, Maryland, Duke to start. We could be 0-2. I was with the guys at Wheelers, and I said, guys, we're rebuilding. How are you guys going to be? And and one guy says, we're with you, Coach. Win or tie. We're right there with you. And then I said, well, what if we really start off slow? Are you still going to love me? They said, oh, man, come on. We're going to love you. We're going to miss you, but we're going to love you.
John, is winning a national championship changed recruiting at all when you go out or anything different on that?
Kids all want to win. The kids who want to win are the ones we're recruiting. Dwayne and I were talking about it this morning. Every group we've had has come in with the idea they want to win a championship. Whether it was John in that group, whether it was Brandon in that group, whether it's the group last year with Michael and those guys, they all talked. They wanted to win a championship. So what happens is we're a players first program. All of us, including Dwayne, and all our job is to care about those kids. It's players first. Their job is to care about winning championships. Our job is we're about them. Every decision we make is about them. And then their job is to go out and basically drag us where we're trying to go.
John, how would you compare the challenge here of each year fashioning a new team with, at UMass, almost fashioning a program on a national scale?
Well, this is a much better program. I don't know what you mean by that. But
Well, just
I
the
would tell you-
challenge as a coach.
Yeah, well, what I would tell you is that this has made me a better coach. And I was just with Jim McCoy, his father passed away last weekend. And I basically said, I apologize that I wasn't a better coach when I coached him. I was 28 years old, 29 years old. And I said to him, Jim, I wish I knew then what I know now about coaching and preparing young people, and I didn't. I mean, you were one of the first. And, his mother had a great, she grabbed me and said, people said, why would you send your son with a 28-year-old who's never coached? And she said, I looked him in the eye and said, because I trust him, which made me feel good. But the reality of it is, I'm a better coach now because it's like a teacher having the same lesson plan for 12 years. Well, when I was at UMass, I'm going to be honest with you, 5 of those years, I had exactly the same lesson plan. We were going to play, and we won a lot of games and did a lot of good, and kids did good, but we could have done better. I mean, I could have coached better. No question that I could have been a better coach. And wish I would have been for those kids, but at that age, that was my background, my history.
When you talk about being a better coach, what's that number one thing that why you're a better coach now?
I have more knowledge. I've been through more experiences. There's nothing a kid's going to do or say that I haven't seen. I know how to respond to it better. In a game, you have a better feel for all situations because there's probably, been up 9, 2 minutes to go and lose. There's not much I haven't seen in 20-some years. When Mrs. McCoy said to me, do you remember our home visit? It was 25 years ago. How am I going to remember that? She said, well, all you did was talk to me. I thought you were recruiting me and not my son. And I said, well, that hasn't changed in 25 years. That's still the same. But, and the game's different. I mean, we all grew up, 5 passes, set screens, it's the motion game. We want to run motion offense. Well, everybody's now in the lane, you shoot jumpers, and the NBA's not doing it. Obviously, the game has changed and evolved. And it's no disrespect for anything, but it's just changed and evolved. And it's done at different times, and now the game has changed. The three-point line. When I was at UMass, my first couple of years, there wasn't a three-point line. That's how long ago I coached. There wasn't. Jimmy's, maybe his senior year, it came in. The three-point line, but prior to that, there was none. So the game has evolved, and hopefully I'm learning. And you learn from players. Every player I've coached here, you learn different things from.
Got any news on Nerlens for folks that are getting anxious about whether you're going to have them week, opening night?
Well, just so you know, our policy on any student athletes, we don't confirm academic eligibility until the first day of class or athletic eligibility until the first day of competition. So,
Now, do you mind me? He will practice, and if we played tomorrow, he would play. But I'm sticking to that policy. That's my policy. I know some of you are angry right now. That is my policy.
Cal, what is it that you think is the reason why you can communicate so well with today's athletes?
Well, tell them the truth, not embellishing or not. I mean, I make it, we undersell, over-deliver. I'm not gonna BS you. This is how it is. If you don't want this, then you don't come here. I'm not the only coach that can help you prepare for your dreams. This is what we do and how we do it. If you want this, it's a great place to go. If you don't want it, you need to go somewhere else. I mean, everybody says, Coach, we want you to keep it real. Keep it real. That's the, you know, unless you're keeping it real with them, then they're not real happy. And so that's, you know, the other one is I need 4 years to create a relationship. Well, my wife and I, we've been 26 years. I think we were about 4 months together, and I knew. I don't need 4 years with these guys. We create a relationship in a year or two. I tell you that, after that, they start disliking you, I think. I mean, so, you know, we treat them right. It's about them. They know it's about them. There's no question. You know, last year, how did you get guys to play this way? They trusted that it was about them. So they shared their sacrifice. They shared sacrifice. From Anthony Davis, who shot 22 points the other day and looked in the camera, Coach Cal didn't let me do this. I mean, but he was our 5th shot taker. Or Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, or Darius Miller coming off the bench, who was undraftable as a junior and is draftable coming off the bench as a senior. They trust, we're going to do what you want because we know you care about us. This is not about you, Grand Poobah. It's not about, we'll care about winning, you care about us. And I've only known that way. I've coached that way and made it about kids, and it doesn't mean I don't scream and yell. Like somebody says, well, you can't really get on kids anymore. Yeah, you can, if they know you care about them. They know it's about them, then they're going to, whatever you tell them to do, they'll do. Now, the question you have as a coach, this group will do, they're great kids. They're going to do whatever I ask them to do. Whatever I ask them to do, they'll do. I got to hope I'm asking them to do the right things. Like, they're going to do what we ask, so hopefully it's the right stuff.
Gary, when you received the Wooden Award, you went on BC Radio and talking about the advice Coach Wooden had given you about playing guys. Can you talk a little bit about that?
I called him in the 2010 season, and I had been in touch with him at different points in my career. And I said, are you watching my team? He said, yes, I am. And I said, you know, I'm worried about this, that, and the other. And he said, Coach, look, bottom line is, and I know why you're doing it, but you play too many people. He said, we played 6 guys, maybe 7. And those other guys had to work their way in. You guys, because of transfers and all the other stuff, you don't play as many guys. Or you play more people, you're playing 10. And Jack Lehman from UMass used to tell me the same thing. You play too many guys. You're trying to play 10 guys because you want it to be about a system and how you play versus those kids. You got to play less and let them learn to play with each other. That's why we have 8 kids on scholarship. 9 kids, most we'll ever have is 10 on scholarship. Now, I have scholarship for walk-ons. Well, we got 8 kids on scholarship this year. Next year, somebody called me and said, well, if all these kids come, I said, we'll have 8 or 9 on scholarship. They all come, we're going to end up, these guys are going to do this, and these guys graduated, and we end up with a couple, and 5 come, we'll have 7 or 8 guys. But that was his comment and I talked to his daughter Nan about it. You know, we were just at dinner. It was kind of neat.
John, what's the idea behind ESPN All Access special? What do you hope to get out of that?
Well, we said no. They approached us, and we said no for about a month. We didn't want to do it. And, you know, like, what? Do we really need more exposure? The one guy said, we'll help, you know, this and this. What about your recruiting? I said, I don't think we need help. I think we're okay. And so what we talked about, one, I don't mind sharing. So you have a lot of guys that, and it's not, I'm not saying they're wrong, but I'm not sharing what I do with anybody. This is our secret. Why? I've never been that way in my life. I don't, whoever, If you walk in my practice, not you, because you're not allowed in there, but the other people that walk in my practice, I'm not hiding anything. I'm not embarrassed about how we do our jobs. I'm not embarrassed about our kids. I'm not embarrassed about how we coach. And look at me, I sleep good at night. I sleep like a baby at night. So I'm not worried about people being here. It doesn't matter to me. I mean, that's fine. So then it was like, okay, will it be good for our kids? Will it? And we decided, you know what? You know, let them come in for a while and see how it plays out. And again, look, well, what if something happens? We got, you know, people 24/7. How can I find? What can I do? How do I? Well, whether ESPN is here or not, if something happens, what? They'll be here in 2 hours. So what's? I feel comfortable with what we're doing and how we do it. So we'll let it go. Everybody's going to be mad. I know. Maybe I did it. Did I do it because of that? Maybe just to aggravate people? I might have. Did we talk? I may have said that. Let's aggravate everybody and do this. Because it really, for us, it's...
How much access do they have? Is it like keeping up with the Caliparis?
They've been in my house. And they've been around my wife, which is really unusual. She's very private. A little bit. But my thing was I did not want this to be about me. I said from day one, they put out a press release, they had my name in it 8 times, and we took them out. I don't want this to be, this is about this program, about these kids, about the staff. And people, what they want to see is, how in the world does he get a young group to play that hard and be that unselfish in that period of time? Is that right? Now, if you're not curious that way, it's just like you want to see nasty stuff. Well, fine, you know, look at something else. But that's what I hope comes across, that this is a good group of kids. They come together, they share each other, they share sacrifice, they know they got to give up stuff, they work real hard, they go to class, they do what they're supposed to. Good kids who are good students and trying to chase their dreams under a magnifying glass that's like ridiculous.
Do you expect any of the Peckham, Hood, Polson to get implemented?
I hope so. My hope would be that they get some time. But, you know, that'll all play out.
How's your lesson plan different this year from last year?
The beginning will be the same, but after we get started, probably do more scrimmaging this year than I did a year ago, earlier. But I only have, normally I'll have 4 to 5 practices already planned. I got 2. And those are in pencil, let me put it that way. But I've got 2 planned. I like my team. I really do. I like what we are. I like, Kyle Wilshire said he never thought he'd play on a team as close as last year's team. And now he's saying this team may be as close, if not closer than last year's team, which makes me feel good. I mean, that's the kind of, you know, stepping in that you want to have.
You were talking earlier about defense. When you're in the recruiting process, you're watching a kid or you're in the home, how can you sense that the kid's been able to play defense, been willing to play defense?
Well, you watch him, but I was just in a home last week, and I sat down, and I won't tell you if it was boys or boy, because I can't. There were 2 of them or 1, okay? But I sat down in that home, and I looked at that boy, and I said, I want to tell you, I've seen you guys play. I've seen you play and compete so hard that it's scary. And then I've also seen you where you act like it doesn't matter and you're just going through the motions. I want you to know in front of your family, that player will not be on my court. He will not play. The minute I see it, he's out. Do you guys understand that? I don't want phone calls. I want nothing. That's how it is. I mean, some of it's just coming in. The other thing is they recruit each other. All these kids, last year's team, they all talk to each other. It is a different time and age. If a coach is a jerk, they are texting each other that my coach is a jerk. He doesn't care about me. It's different. The 25-year-old model is out the window. It is. And you can't, if you promise everything and you don't follow through, that family's blogging that you said this, this, and this, and this, and this, and you didn't. That's why I said, I'm not going to tell you how many shots you're going to take, how many minutes starting. I can't tell you that. Just tell you our freshmen have done well. I can lead you in on that little secret. They've done fine. But I am not going to be in that.
Don, you talked a lot about how this team is different from last year's team. And last year's team had parents and Ron and Darius waiting to be a part. And this team does. They don't know the difference, but how does that make your job tougher, not having those guys to come back?
This is all exciting. I mean, think about it. I mean, it'd be boring to have the same team every year, I think. But we're coming in and have no idea. You know, I have in my mind things that I think will work, and they may or may not work. There may be things that they do, and just so you understand that the handoff stuff we started doing happened because Josh Harrelson popped out, grabbed the ball, and handed it to Brandon Knight, who made a shot. And it was not anything designed. And I said, oh my gosh, that looks good. And all these handoffs came from that play. There's a break-off play, he popped out, caught it squared up, handed off, and Brandon shot it. I said, man, I like that. So there'll be things that these guys show us. We may do both elbows, two guys on the elbows. We may even go open the court wide open and have both bigs on the baseline 5 feet off the block. So now the court, think of the court now. You got wings wide, you got the baseline, and now when you drive, if you help, we throw lobs. We got both of them. You can throw a lob to either one, 7 foot, 6'11". There's all kind of stuff you can try. It's just what will work. And it's hard that you're going to be experimenting against Maryland and Duke, and you can go down twice. Take 2 L's and still be good. I mean, a couple years ago, we lost a bunch of league games, and everybody was in a full-blown panic, and I kept saying, I like my team, and we were a basket or 2 away from winning the national title in Houston.
You mentioned this summer trying to get that motor, the Michael Gilchrist motor out of Alex Boychrist. Can you see that maybe coming out of him, or if it's not him, is there anybody else on this team that can be?
Archie right now is looking like more and more like out of the mold of DeAndre and Michael, who can guard 2 or 3 different positions. Alex, just trying to help him define his game. But he's a, you know, he's a wonderful kid. The thing that we've been working on him is he looks at his feet all the time. So my biggest thing is you don't look down. You're always looking up. We have lines on the wall on the practice court that if he's practicing, he does a drill, if his head goes down, I'm just yelling, head, 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 because it's a body language that he's not. He said, you know, I didn't even know I was doing it. Like make a play and then look down. Well, that zaps us energy, it zaps him of energy. And that's part of the reason I think there are times in the game that he didn't have the motor. Something that simple. But he's a great kid. Well, he's the most conscientious kid I've had since Brandon, who is where he's supposed to be on time, work in the school done, all that stuff, and will help his teammates if they're lagging or any of that. He's really, really conscientious.
But can you talk about Ryan being a part of the program last year and how that can help him contribute right off the bat?
Well, he's ahead of the game because he was here last year, but he didn't play. And so now you know, what I call the self-confidence, the self-esteem you build is through demonstrated performance. He's got to go in the game and perform. People are going to look at him and they're going to be real physical. If he can't play through that type of game, then we got to make decisions. How are we going to do this? Because that's how they're going to play. I think he's plays stronger than he looks. He's a skilled. He's out of the mold of Brandon, but Brandon was just a crazy worker. Like 11 o'clock at night, he'd be in the gym. So he willed himself where, you know, Ryan's not that way. I'm not saying he doesn't work, but Brandon was off the charts. So he kind of, but they got the same body frame, you know, narrow shoulders. You know, you look at him and say, wow, he's not, but he's skilled, he's fast, pretty good athlete.
What kind of a point guard is he as a point guard? You say he's, you know, he's
out of the mold of Brandon.
Just
yeah, he can score the ball. He's skilled, like Brandon was. He's becoming a good layup shooter, playing through bumps and getting it off the glass and throwing lobs and all that. He's getting better, but this process is going to be, in November, I need us to play like it's November. And then in December, let's play like it's December. I don't need us playing like it's March and November. We're not going to be there. And then when we hit February and March, let's play like we're in that month and maybe a little bit beyond. And then see what happens. I mean, I like my team. I like our size, our skill set,
Cal, has the league changed you at all?
I don't think so. Has it changed me at all? I'm trying to work harder to show everybody, like Dwayne, quit going home. It's like 10 o'clock at night. That's crazy. But I just committed that I'm going to spend more time. I'm going to recruit harder than I've ever done. And with the ability for us to make phone calls and text now, I'm spending more time than I have in the last couple of years at it. And I want everybody in my office, not by me saying it, just they look at the pace and say, man, you'd think he'd back up. Well, I'm trying to go harder to keep everybody around me just knowing, let's stay on our toes. We made a lot of people happy around the country that we won. So let's stay on our toes and let's keep marching forward. We're going to take some arrows and some bazooka shots, and let's just take them and move. My thing, again, I said this today, Coach, they're people this, that, and the other, and I just said, look, I'm not dealing with all that. So I'll say all to you guys here, which I've said, whatever you think I am, I agree. Now let me go coach my team. Is that easy enough?
Coach, just to follow up to what Alan says, I don't think anybody's surprised that you would try to take it in stride and go right back to work. But as a person, in your heart, you've accomplished something enormous that other people are talking about.
No, what I've accomplished is helping prepare, no, what I've done is helping prepare young people. This job I'm in now, I don't even think I'm in the basketball business anymore. I'm in the business of helping families. It's incredible. We've had 15 draft picks. We had 7 players draft. We're teaching people how to be men, how to be fathers, how to go on. Our kids have gone on and done well in a short period of time. And this Kentucky effect is there and it's real. And so now you're in the business of helping families break generational cycles. We've had probably 45 to 50 kids get college degrees during my time as a head coach, and I'm guessing 80% of them are the first college educated in their families. You may say, well, how many of them are lawyers and doctors? Well, probably not many, but when I grew up, I was the first college educated in my family. I could not think about being a lawyer and doctor. I was going to be a high school coach, teach high school English. Now, then I went and did the college thing and then the NBA, and they fired me, and I came back. But my daughter's going to be a doctor. In 2 years, Aaron's going to be a doctor. Well, that's how this is supposed to work. How about generational cycle of poverty? Senator Mitch McConnell said to me, how many are leaving last year? I said 6 more. He said, what? You're creating more millionaires than a Wall Street firm. And I went, wow, we are. And so when you say that to me, when I hug my wife, I'm saying, when I hugged her on the court, I said, now my friends and family don't have to argue and we can get on the business of coaching young people. Because that matters more for my high school coach and my college coach. He should have won national titles at Memphis and Massachusetts. Everybody wins there. Why wasn't he winning national titles? This is the first. You're arguing stupid stuff. So now, before the game, they said, how's it feel to be known as the best coach never to win a national title? Like, is that a compliment or is that, what is that? And then after the game, the guy came up and said, how's it feel to be the worst coach to ever win a national title?
Did anybody actually say that?
Cal, how do you deal?
Whatever you think I am.
How do you deal with criticism that comes from outsiders? Do you have a particular way?
You can't. He'll tell you, I don't have a computer. I don't look at Twitter, Facebook, newspapers, nothing. If something's going on, I get up in the morning and I'm getting a coffee, say, anything I gotta deal with? And if it's